blah. Y'all already know what it is. Your boy Yaakov, what it do? The outlet to reality, the holdest podcast in Vegas and Chicago. What up? This is the place where you want to hide from your drama or maybe hide from your baby mama. Just kidding. But anyways, fans, thank you for staying tuned. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Ching! And today we have a very special guest who I consider my mentor, my friend. Give it up for Teddy. What's up, girl?
Hi, everyone. I hope you guys are fun. My name is Teddy Kumutsakis. My real name is Theodora, but all my students and everyone that knows me by Teddy. I don't know anyone who calls me by my full name unless it's my mom.
Oh, man. I'm so happy to have you. And for my fans out there, I do want to share a story. So Teddy knows me when I was a freshman. I started a class. It was a FYE class called The Searching of Life with Professor Zephron, one of the best professors I know. And Teddy had like this energy. Like when she was in class, she always got the people moving when we were shy and trying to break the ice. She found a way to make us laugh. And I love that. And one thing I could tell you too is that Teddy was the person that actually got my first job at NEIU at Northeastern as a peer mentor. So thanks to you and spreading the good word, I felt like I was able to move up in life. About you, Teddy, any memories you could remember? I know it's been a while.
It's been a long time since I was in that FYE course. So just so that everyone knows, FYE stands for first year experience. It's basically a course where I am a mentor for students who are first coming into our institution and really just navigating the life of college, because you guys are 18, 19 years old for class and seeing all my students and remember you in the classroom. And what I remember is sitting there and being like, okay, the student is really great. The student is engaged. The student is knowing what to say and ask what questions to ask me as someone who's already been there at that institution. And tidbit, I wasn't at that institution that long. It was probably a year or two when I first met you in your classroom. So I've only been at Northeastern probably 2 years at that time. But I remember sitting in class and just remembering you in class and asking the questions. And even on our one-on-ones, when you would ask the questions like certain things about Northeastern, things that you can engage in scholarships or anything that you are just trying to make sure that you can grab hold of the college life and just be like, let's do it and dive right in. And for me, having those kinds of students are great. I like my quiet students too, but I also love my students who are like, I'm going to go for it. And from there, that's when I realized, oh man, I want to see how he progressed throughout the semester, because if so, he's going to be a mentor. He's going to be one of the FYE peer mentors. We've got to bring him in. And I actually asked for my bosses at the time who were, part of the FYE department, someone who I think would be great. And as soon as your name was plopped in, they knew automatically I was recommending you. So they were like, okay, do we need to say more to him? I'm like, no, just hire him. That's basically what we need to do. But I remember that sitting in our social work course and, having our professor talk about, just religion and all other things, but just seeing you engage in the classroom and then seeing you engage with me as your mentor to figure out what you can do was amazing. And that's why I wanted you as a peer mentor. And I was talking to you about it. I was like, you can get paid for this. Not that we wanted to get paid, but that was a bonus, right? That's a bonus to get paid. But really in reality, I would have done it for free. And I know you would have done it for free as well.
Oh, yeah. That stood out right from the class. When Zephron took us to a synagogue on a Friday or Saturday, and we got to experience a service, all the entire class, see how they do the service. And it was nice to hear that a lot of the Greek tradition, because you're Greek, have very similar, you could say, customs that the Jewish people practice. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, actually, because I'm Greek Orthodox, and I failed to mention that, right? With that full last name of mine. But the Greek Orthodox culture is very aligned with the Jewish religion, and there's a lot of customs that are very similar, which is interesting to me. When we were part of that class, I saw it in a little bit of every place we went. I don't know if you remember the mosque that we attended to, and the separation with the men and the women. We actually do that in a part of some of our churches in the Orthodox, in what we call a monastery. We split. The women are on one side and the men are on the other side. No, we still see each other in the room. It was just really interesting to see that in different parts of the religions that we went to. When we went to a different Orthodox church, we got to see how similar that is even to the Greek Orthodox Church. And most Orthodox churches are very similar. It's just the language that we're speaking. It's either in Russian or it's in Greek. So it's interesting to see how even in that synagogue, and it's great that you guys saw that, because that was part of our class. We wanted you guys to see how, yes, the way we worship and the way we do things can be different, but there's some underlying things that can be the same. And I love that. I love that about that class. That class really was amazing, just to get us involved and just get us to observe and just see how beautiful it can be across any religion and any culture.
Right. No, that's true. And Teddy, I wanted to see, so like, what got you social work? Like, did somebody inspire you, or did you have somebody, like maybe a professor, to say, hey, I think this might work for you? Or what was the process like?
Actually, I had my own mentor, Dr. Bricky Church, who is in the psychology department, she had retired currently, but she was part of the psychology department at NEIU. And she actually thought I would make a great peer mentor. She was the one that said, you should be a peer mentor. And we didn't have a peer mentor in our classroom. It was very new to the institution to have these peer mentors, but she inspired me to be a peer mentor. And then from there, I realized I really like this concept of helping people throughout their process. But I've been doing that for so long. I've been doing it since high school, actually. My friends, helping them with anything along the way that they had questions about, I was always helping them out. And then in college, I really didn't know what I wanted to major in or what I wanted to do or be after I finished. But it was from that one FYE course with my mentor, and then just inspiring me, and me being around the students as long as I have with the work that I do inspired me to do my social work career. This one thing I tell students, especially if they want to be a social worker, our lens and the way we are and where we're everywhere. We can be in government. We can be a clinician if we wanted to. But I knew in my heart, a clinician, it wasn't something I wanted to do in social work, but I really wanted to do that hands-on work where I'm looking at data, where I'm looking at how we can really observe a program. I learned that from my mentor. She helped me a lot to look into that and look at how what we do and the practice that we do has to make sense. Not everything works for one person. So we have to make sure that it works. So it was really a mentor of mine. She inspired me in the FYE class. And from her, I wanted to make sure every FYE class that I had inspired someone. And I'm glad I inspired you, because now you're doing this. And that's amazing to see. It's amazing to see my former students doing much more than they thought they could do. And that was what my mentor told me. She's like, you can do as much more than you think you can. And someone who's first generation, who parents were immigrants from Greece who came here and wanted the American dream and also wanted their kids to go to college. It was great, but it was also scary because I didn't think I had it in me.
So how, like, that's very interesting. I forgot that you were a first generation as well. So did you feel like somebody to help you in college? You had to find your own, right? Like scholarships and things like that.
The older sister. So I'm the youngest of the three older sisters. And my oldest did go to college. My second oldest actually is mentally challenged. So she didn't attend college. And then my third older sister, actually, she attended Northeastern. So she and I actually learned together because she's so close in age. And my oldest sister we learned what not to do. She told us, don't take out private loans, don't do this, don't do that. And then we learned how to navigate the system. She actually is the reason why I went to Northeastern, because she actually did my application. I didn't do my application. She sat there and she's like, you're going to college. You have no say. And I'm thankful for her, because if she did not do that, I would not be where I'm at right now. And I would not be in the career path that I am right now. But with my sisters, we actually had to learn. It was a trial and error. And that's why I became a peer mentor. I wanted to make sure my first generation students didn't feel or did the errors that I did. And I wanted to make sure when we sat together and we learned the system and you had questions about financial aid, and I was like, don't worry, your check's going to go through. It's going to clear. It's just going to take a week. And when I told students that, and I would tell them the ins and outs of how our institution ran, that calmed the students down, because I had to learn it on my own. But I also wanted to make sure anyone who's first generation, I don't wanted them to be scared or have to go through what I had to go through. But it was a lot of error, like a lot of error. And that happens. And that's okay. As someone who's first generation learning, financial aid is its own beast. And we know that. But learning like how to get scholarships, how to get that. One thing that I learned, and you notice this in the classroom, I always advocate. I always advocate for myself. I always advocate for my students. So that was one thing that's just a personality trait for me that came natural. And because of that, that helped me a lot to get scholarships. And for, people to notice me. They were just like, hey, she'd be great as a mentor. She'd be great to be a tutor. She'd be great for this. And that was great to see that not only did I hustle, right? I was hustling to get these things, but others saw my hustle and was like, she can do that. And then told me about it, which was great. As first generation, you feel like you have to put up, what do they call it? Where you're faking it to make it. There's a word for it, but I can't think of the word right now. Do you know what it is, David?
No, I thought you were gonna say, oh, like we put walls up. We don't want nobody.
Well, there's walls. There's walls for first generation. You're always seeing these walls, and you're always seeing these barriers. And I want to break down those barriers. That's what I'm doing now currently with my position at Northeastern as a retention and transfer coordinator, breaking down the barriers for my transfer students who are first generation, who are maybe low income or immigrants. Same with my parents. Every dime was spent into making sure there's food on the table and lights in the house, and that there was everything that I could need. Could have been better? Yeah, but I'm glad that my parents showed us, hey, it's kind of the nature of us learning too, especially them learning another language. My parents didn't know English, and they had to really learn it. And for them, that was scary because they didn't know if they could. But then they showed me, hey, I can learn English, and I can learn the customs of being American, being Greek myself, them being Greek and coming from Greece. They're like, you can do it too. You can also get by those barriers, and let's do it together. Though they didn't understand financial aid. And clearly, to this day, they always tell me, I don't know what that is, but now I understand it. And so I always make sure that my students have that understanding of what that is and how they can overcome the questions that they have for financial aid, and making sure that they can ask the questions and not feel timid, because sometimes you don't want to ask the questions. And how many times were you sitting with me, and sometimes I'd be like, so do you know how to use Blackboard? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, then go on your account and show me. And you're like, I don't really know how to use this. And I'm like, yeah, well, then ask me the question. What do you want to know how to use it? Because even I had to learn how to use these systems, right? Yeah. But it was best to ask the peer. It's better to ask a peer, and ask a peer. Why not?
That's true. Dang, that's good. Like, it's crazy how I totally forgot about that. That was the hardest thing to learn from the computer. And
thank God I can talk to you about this, because my students now, they're like, text this, savvy this. But back in the day, our internet wasn't great. I met you in like 2010, right?
2011.
It was getting better, but smartphones weren't there yet. We didn't have like what we have now. Our
Right.
smartphones were getting there. But I remember my flip phone, man. I remember my sidekick. I remember like the struggles that we had to think about with internet. Now it's just like everything's in the touch of my hand. But I remember sitting with you and being like, okay, so what systems do you need questions about? Do you need questions about Newport? And you're like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, all right, do you know how to register for classes next year? And you're like, I'm like, exactly. Have you asked your advisor that? Have you talked to them? Yeah, you should, because it's fast pace. And you knew that. But afterwards, you were just like, okay, let me ask the questions that I need to ask, because you realize you should ask me, because I do have the knowledge of Northeastern, right? Because I was there already. But I also wanted to make sure that once I was gone, you had to do it. Plus, also, I was prepping you for being a peer mentor. That's what I was doing. I wanted you to make sure that you were right and you knew what you were going to do. I was like, he's going to be a peer mentor. Most of the time when you're first generation, you don't want to ask those questions. Because you don't want to sound stupid. And no one's stupid. No question is stupid. Nothing's stupid. But you, as someone who's first generation, you don't want to feel like you should know. Imposter syndrome. That's the word. It's being having that imposter syndrome. It happens.
Dang. No, it's crazy. Like, looking back in college, like I gotta say, I enjoy more college than high school, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people really don't care about popularity so much in college. It's more of what have you done for the community that make it better, and people look at that as more as a value. So professors like, oh yeah, she was part of that research program, she's been on it, that's different than I'm the biggest football player. It's so different. It's a whole different world. And honestly, I gotta say that for me, college, how to network. Because if you don't use those tools, like those professors might be the one to get you that career that you want or that job. Like most of my internships were all from my professors, to be honest with you. They went out of their way, got me connected, and I'll never forget that. I think that's amazing. So yeah, Teddy, I feel like you got a lot of knowledge, girl. And I want to ask you something that I have to ask,
because go for it.
I know you've been to Greece, right?
Yes, many times.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about how's the lifestyle there compared to the US?
So there's a difference between the way they live and the way we live here. Being Greek, the only thing I don't know if I can answer that fully, because I haven't lived in Greece lived there. But I can say they're more relaxed than we are. We stress out all the time. I don't know why we do that. But I can say that they're a little bit more relaxed in the sense they will take the time to enjoy life, where we're like, back, go, 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 where they enjoy life. I feel that with my life today, to making sure I enjoy it. But I think that's the only difference I can say, where they will take the time to kind of not smell the roses, but in the sense they'll take the time to actually enjoy the life they have. Where I feel like we're always busy and we're working and we're just doing all these crazy things to get 2 weeks off, where they're like, no, you should actually have a better system. And I agree to them. The systems that we have in place aren't, always the greatest, but I think that's the only thing I can see. That's the only thing I can see, but I've always been there during the summertime. I've never lived there. But if I could see, like when I hang out with my cousins, I can tell they enjoy their time. As I get older, I'm realizing, I should enjoy my life and should take the time to smell that roses or really enjoy doing things so that I don't feel going crazy. But I think that's the only thing I can say, because I haven't lived there. I haven't really been there. But if someone wants to, in your podcast, to talk about that and in the comments, if that's great. I would love to hear more. I actually would love to live in Greece. I would love to live there just to see it. And if only I could work remotely and just work wherever I wanted to, that would be amazing. But if that's going to ever happen, because I need people. I need to work with people.
Yeah, you do definitely, and I feel like you're a great storyteller for sure, like hands down. You
I
have the
try. That's the Greek in me. She just knows how to tell some stories. It's more like I learned it from my own father. His stories and the way he describes things, and his nature. Like, I will say this: my parents showed me what it's like to take care of others, and if you have to give the shirt off your back, do it. If it means you're going to help that person in the long run, which I learned from my parents in the long run. They have taught me that since day one. And that if we can help others and families that, are struggling as well, who have kids who with special needs, we were always making sure that we can help instill like some wisdom or something that we knew. And as I got older, I learned more things, especially with my social work career. I had to tell my mom, like, this is not okay. She actually should not be paying for health insurance. She should be getting it because she's disabled. She should be getting disability. So I had to help my family a lot and realize what things they can get to help her with her life and to make sure that she's well taken care of and she doesn't have to struggle, or because they struggled for a long time because a lot of things weren't in place in the government for her. It wasn't until she was 14 that she got insurance. My parents were paying out of pocket. Remember MRIs? MRIs are expensive.
So expensive.
Anyone know? Think about it back in the 80s, like they were expensive even more because that was, systems that were just being placed. I remember my parents talking about paying 10 grand, drop of the hat, just paying 10 grand. And they realized they were just doing it for their daughter because they're like, I want her to be okay and making sure she's okay. From there, I think my family just showed me, you should always make sure that the people around you, and if you can help them, great. If you can't help them, find someone who can. And that was one thing that I learned at a very young age. I can't work. You know that. I know that.
Yeah.
That is social work. That is case management. That is what we do. It's what we do on a daily. I don't know any social worker who doesn't do that on a daily. If I can't help you, but I know someone who can, I'm going to connect you to them.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to reach out to see how it went and see what else do you need? That was something I learned from a very, very young age.
I love that. Now, I do have to ask you a trivia question. It's one of the best questions I've ever heard. So one of my coworkers told me something and it got me really thinking, but I want to ask your input. He said, what if you dropped $10,000? It was somewhere and you lost it, but a stranger found it and gave it back to you. What would you do?
I'd probably give half just to be like, thanks. Most people would be like, no, I'm not going to take it. But for me, it'd be like, I would want to reward that person for being so honest. Because I don't know how many people would give 10 grand back. I don't know about you, but I don't know how many people, I don't know how many people would actually give that back. I would actually try to reward them some money back too, because one, that's just showcases the nature of that person willing to go find you to be like, this is your money and you dropped it. So why not give them something in a reward, and then try to see if I can help them in any way. Also, who's losing 10 grand, man? Who's losing that like that?
It's a big one. That's a big one.
Right. So, but it makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, I found wallets. I found so many iPhones. People, stop putting your iPhones down. Like, I find them. And then I just give them to like front desks and stuff like that. I actually was in Vegas one time and I found someone's brand new iPhone. At the time, it was the 8. They left it in the bathroom. I thought it was mine because it looked exactly like mine, grabbed it, didn't think twice about it. And then I was like, why do I have 2 cell phones? Then I realized that girl on the photo on the phone is not me. And so I went to the front desk and was like, I don't know who is this, but they left them in the bathroom. Don't know if they got it, but hopefully they did. But right. Yeah, I would hope someone would give me the money back, right? If they found it and they knew, but I would also reward them. That'd be, why not? Why not reward someone for being just super nice to find you to give you that money back. You do.
So
I'm
that's
kind of
that's
curious.
what I was gonna get to. So for me, if someone came to me and they gave it the 10,000 back, I would definitely give them 1,000. Like for me, 1,000 or more, because like you
Yeah.
said, you just lost that 10,000. It was pretty much gone. You didn't know it was gonna
Right.
come back. So for them to come back, it shows that wow, like you said, they were honest, and that's rare to find. People like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I am gonna kind of counter a little bit. There was a
All right.
moment when I was this is a long time ago. I didn't have insurance, health insurance, and I went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, with the doctor's office, they're like, okay, it's gonna be $50. And I'm like, damn, I ain't got no $50. And I went to the bar that was next to me, right? And I was like, I'm gonna see if I can go to the ATM, probably get some money, right? Let's see, maybe I
Mm-hmm.
have like $20, right? But I know I don't have nothing. But I just went. I went, you're not gonna believe it. The bar was closed, but some reason was open. And
Hmm.
there was nobody there. I even like I was like, man, it's real quiet. I go to the ATM and I look in the where the money comes out. It was
Right. Right.
exactly $50
Whoa.
that I need for the doctor. Now I did scream. I said, "Hello, anybody here?" Nobody answered. Took the 50 and I paid for the doctor's bill that I needed to get my checkup. And it was like I was at the right place at the right time, but like going back to the 10 grand, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
little tricky because if you never find that person, right? I mean, I don't know how he found me, right? I'm special.
Right.
But it's crazy because they say too, there's another saying that sometimes you may find something, but it's for you, you never know.
Mhm.
So, and it could be too that whoever found it probably needed more of the money than you. That's another way to look at it.
That is very true. And I've never found $50. I wish. I wish. But I found $1 or $5 on the ground and then looked around to see if someone had dropped it. And no one was around. I'm like, all right, I've just got $5. Cool. But then that money ends up somewhere else. Usually, sometimes it's like I see someone who's homeless and I'm like, all right, I just find $5. Here you go. It's like, I don't need this $5, but I found it. Some people would say that finding that $50 in that ATM might be a way of like someone's looking out for you and saying, hey, you need it. You need it. And sometimes you have to use it and then you pay it forward later on. And you don't have to pay it forward. And no one has to pay anything forward if they don't want to, right? But I know you and I know your personality and I know you're going to pay it forward and you're going to figure out ways to pay it forward. So that's always a good thing about anyone. Like, if I have had my fair shares of not having health insurance, and I know what that was like. It wasn't until the Affordable Care Act kicked in, or as everyone calls it, the Obamacare. Until it was kicked in, I didn't have insurance for a while after I left Northeastern. So I wasn't sick. And if I was sick, hopefully those Greek remedies my mom knew from her grandmother was just kicking in. And she was just like, here you go, you're fine. Put some Vicks on it. And I'm like, all right. Greek people and their remedies. My grandmother's 96. She's still living. She'll be 97 in February. So if she's living that long, right?
Yeah, that's good. That means she's doing good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, look at you, girl. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. I'm really happy to have Teddy, the outlet to reality, to hold this podcast in Vegas and Chicago every Tuesday. You can find me on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, the outlet to reality. My Snapchat is take one pass it, and my TikTok is at Yaakov 28. And Teddy, where can my fans find you?
Or you can find me on LinkedIn at Theodora Kumitsakis. You can always ask me questions there. And if you're a student that's going to Northeastern and have questions, I'm there. I can help you. You can always find me and I can message and help you in any way.
Perfect. Thank you, girl.